All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nun. 326, I believe tonight is. And I want to welcome. Where do I hear myself? Oh, I hear myself on my phone. That's kind of awkward. Okay. We are still Bush League after all these years, 326 episodes. But I want to welcome, of course, repeated guest co-host, Mr. John the Wolf Wagner, and Pat, longtime past guest. I haven't seen him in here in a while, but man, we go so far back. I can't even remember. Actually, we go all the way back to about 1988, 89, but that's a whole other story. We just didn't know each other then. But Mr. Jimbo, as we affectionately call him, Hanson. But Jim, they don't call you that on Fox because that's kind of reserved for your special friends, right?
They're not cool enough to be in the Uncle Jimbo frame of things. They only get the Jim Hanson guy, that cheesy dude in a suit and tie.
Yeah, I noticed we don't have any suits tonight. We have some good Air Force camo rocking tonight. So
this Air Force flyboy was walking down the street, so I skinned him and took his suit.
nice. Well, he must not have been a JTAC then, because you wouldn't be able to do a JTAC, but or PJ. But no, awesome. Hey, great to have you on, Wolf. Great to see you again as always. Thank you so much for
being here, my friend.
Yep. Yeah, I was off for the last couple of weeks handling some stuff, and had Toby on before that. Toby will be back on with me next week. He's able to do a lot more shows now. So, but in the meantime, Wolf, you step up and step in, and Jim, it's great to have you back on. We chat a lot, the three of us with a few others, all the time through the week, trading barbs and funny anecdotes and updates and stuff. But it's good to have you on here on the air and kind of talk through some. We'll find some things to talk about tonight, I'm sure.
Everything sucks. Let's start with that.
Is that the theme? Should I just call it
the theme? Everything sucks.
Yeah, Stu and the Nun. Everything sucks episode. Yeah. So
I think that South Park covered that in about 1995 or something like that.
Yeah, probably.
That may have been it. Yeah. So let's talk about everything is sucking. We're going to start right off with today. Some news was made. Our illustrious Secretary of Defense, third in line of succession, I believe. If I'm wrong, I could be wrong, but came back to work today and had a little. I don't know if he had convalescent leave. I'm not sure he put his 4187 in, but anyways, he's back after a little outage and came back in front of the podium today. A lot of mixed feelings on his performance or what he said. So Jim, I want to go to you since you haven't done so long. Did you get a chance to watch it? And what were your thoughts on what he said today or didn't say?
Well, what he didn't say is I resign because I'm a disgraceful piece of crap. There's a term in the military for when you're not at your appointed place of duty and your commander has not been informed or given you permission. It's called absent without leave, and it's a crime under the UCMJ, which I don't know how you can explain what Austin did, disappearing without telling Biden. Not that Biden really needed to know, but it's a formality. And then, I'm going to be in ICU and out of action while we're at war in the Middle East. I'm sorry. He should have been fired if he doesn't, or he should resign. If he didn't, he should be fired. If not, we no longer have any command and control. I have any confidence in our military.
I mean, some people said, well, he was out, he was sick. And of course he played the cancer card, all that kind of stuff, but did you say race card? What happened to your audio? Did you just disconnect yourself?
Hello?
Yeah. I think you unplugged your high-speed microphone there. We need S6 in the house. Nope. Your SIGO is failing you. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Okay, we cannot hear you, my friend. Okay, so I'm gonna cut over to you, Wolf. He was out. A lot of stuff's been going on while he was out. It wasn't like he just had one or two things on his plate.
Well, the thing about it is I had a personal conversation with General Ryder while he was out. And we talked about that a little bit. General Ryder and I go back to CENTCOM together when he was just a colonel. And he was the deputy for CCCI at CENTCOM. And he acknowledged to me that, yes, we did not do this right. And he didn't say anything when I brought up the fact that, if you knew it sooner, say it. It's always dangerous telling the public affairs guy anything because they are duty bound to not lie. So if they're not supposed to release it or whatever, as long as it's not classified, better off not telling them. But if he knew, and worse, the security guys knew, which we know they did, they're as remiss as anybody else. I also am learning from some other sources that the reason he was out was not really what they had predicted back in November. There's some stuff that will eventually be coming out that will talk about what really happened with the sector.
I love when the Wolf's just telling these. This guy flew in on a satellite, and I got this message beamed into my skull.
That's
I
how
mean, we've been hearing this for how long? How long? Since like what, 2004? He started telling us stories from Baghdad, and we're sitting back at Black 5 lying about what's going on or fixing the lies that were being told. And Johnny's like, "Let me give you a little heads up here, fellas."
Yes.
It's crazy.
He was like, way early. Like, we know the hole that this guy's in. We're like, what guy? And boom, gets pulled out. Yeah. But no, he probably, I mean, look, there was a lot of speculation. I mean, when they use the term elective, right, I love that. There was a lot of dissection of that in the media, right? About what's elective and not elective. And some were saying, well, he had cancer when he came out and said he had cancer. Like, well, that's elective. Yeah, I guess you can elect to get the surgery or die, but I don't think that's really elective is a boob job, right? Elective is,
Elective transitioning into Loretta Austin, which is what I was honestly expecting with that toad.
Yeah, you were moving all bets in on that he was going to LG or B or T or something. I don't know what he was, but elective is not cancer. So there have been some speculation that you can't fire a guy with cancer, and that kind of came out. I mean, it went from telling us nothing to all of a sudden they hit the podium and we're like, oh, let us tell you everything he was in there for. It seemed very conveniently timed. Any thoughts on that, Jim?
I think it was the perfect way for them to try and save his sorry butt. And they're going to get away with it. That's what really makes me mad. When we first found out that he was missing in action for 4 days before anyone in the National Command Authority was properly informed, that should have been the end of it right there. I don't care, because he was conscious. He was never, it's not like he was unconscious in ICU, unable to speak, unable to communicate. They decided they weren't going to tell anybody. That shows such a poor that shows less judgment than a private with his first paycheck who heads out, buys a car at 25% interest and marries a stripper and then gets a drunk driving bust on his way back to base. Lloyd Austin has less judgment.
It was a Mustang.
It has to be a Mustang, or it could be like a CUDA,
Well, that's dating yourself.
Yeah,
CUDA, but yeah. So I don't know if he did himself any favors today. I mean, there was a lot of them, and they kind of had him show him gingerly walking up and gingerly walking off, and they turned the lights off when he left and all that kind of stuff. But as we know, our enemies around the world, especially in the Middle East, they only respect strength. And they do not respect kindness and weakness. We all know this. They respect the dominance and the iron fist of strength. I'm not sure any of that was portrayed at the DOD podium today.
When has he? Show me something that Milley and Austin, the worst dynamic duo in the history of dynamic duos, ever did to show anybody the slightest bit of competence, warrior ethos, or anything else. The only thing they're capable of running is pride parades and pronoun practice. They're disgrace.
I think the both of them could show some strength at a old country buffet.
Swimming in the chocolate fountain, right?
I'm just saying, they hit that old country buffet before the senior citizens get there. They can show some strength. But so we talk about that. So one of the things he talked about today, Wolf, is they were asked, he was pointed, and they repeated this multiple times on the news after, right? He was asked, are we at war with Iran? And I think I don't know the latest. If one of you guys don't, I know Rob, my producer, will correct me. I think last I heard is 166 attacks against our forces in the Middle East over the last few months, all coming from Iran or completely backed Iranian Houthi rebels. 165 attacks with like no regard to having to worry about us attacking back. And he asked if we were at the war with Iran. He said, no, we are not at war with Iran. Yet they continue to launch missiles, rockets, drones, and now even killing three of our citizen soldiers out of the great state of Georgia, and wounding 30 plus more. And yet, no, we're still not at war. No.
Well, when we were in Vietnam, we weren't at war with China or the Soviet Union either. So, similar comparison. If you'll look at the attacks and where the equipments are coming from, especially the stuff that's down in Yemen, it's all Iranian sourced material. And we've been tracking that, trying to prevent that stuff from going over for almost a decade, as they ship that stuff in and around the Horn down there, and they just keep trafficking the stuff in. Practically every little boat that comes out of Iran heading toward Yemen is going to have that stuff in it. We could pull over every single one of them. Somebody's going to have it.
Why pull them over? Why don't we sink them? We may not be at war with Iran. Iran is at war with us. And they have been for quite a while. We're just refusing to acknowledge that. And I think the most disgraceful thing was I heard the Biden administration contacted Iran and they talked to them to get permission for what targets they could hit because Iran killed our service members. I'm so mad about that I wanted to swear just there, but I have tremendous self-control. I can't even believe no, I can believe that that's true. And that's the sad state of affairs for the U.S. and our ability to deter anyone. We're now begging tyrants in the Middle East for a chance to save face and what they're going to do. Okay, yeah, hit these 2 bases in the desert, which they will have emptied of people and anything useful. We'll blow some stuff up. They'll show nighttime shots of the explosions and act like that's retaliation for the deaths of U.S. service members. It's the most spineless thing I've ever heard in my life.
But you both have heard that the group that claimed responsibility for the attack that killed the 3 soldiers, they said, we're stopping all that. We're not going to do any more military actions, even though they did it out of the Iraq territory. Oh, we're done. We're out of it. We're out of the business now. We've done our bit. So we get maybe a piece of business now.
They do a press release and all of a sudden, oh, well, that's okay. You blew up, killed a couple of our service members. No big deal. You put out a press release. You're not going to do it anymore. That's not how the world works in a place where we have competent leadership. I mean, come on, Reagan, peace through strength requires strength, and we have none.
No, now we don't. And you mentioned this thing where we ran it by Iran. Have we validated that? Do we? I know we talked about it last week. Has that been vetted that we ran it by? Like we called them on the secret purple phone and said, "Hey, we're about to hit these areas. I just want to give you a heads up as a courtesy."
Well, in the John Wolf Wagner world, I trust my source who told me that, and it was not a direct conversation. It was a bank shot, almost certainly cutter. And we went to them and had, as usual, the Qataris are bagmen for anything bad happening. We had them contact Iran and find out what we could do that wouldn't make them too mad. And now we're going to go ahead and make some holes in the desert.
You got some great intel too. And I mean, I know you're not getting that off of Reddit, so I know your stuff is solid. So, or you're not getting it off Discord or anywhere else. No, it's maybe that's where you get that Air Force top. Was that kid that released all the stuff? His parents sold his stuff off.
Yeah,
but no, I mean, honestly, it was bad enough back when Clinton or anyone else would just throw some tomahawks into the desert and say, look, we retaliated. Right. That's one thing. But even if you threw them into an empty place, but to call and say, hey, you got about an hour, I think where our time on target is roughly about 58 minutes out. You may want to just, have the head guys just kind of start to leave. I mean, to think that our country is given our enemy, if that is not treason and collaboration with the enemy, I don't know what is, because of the enemy when they're killing our American sons and daughters and wounding a number of them, I think about a dozen critically, and you're calling them and telling this is not how you conduct combat operations. Let me ask you, the other day I heard something, it may have been on Gutfeld or one of the shows, but someone was saying we need to get back to calling it the Department of War because that's what it is. And I started to think maybe that's what if President Trump gets back into office, maybe that should be one of his day one things is change it back from the Department of Defense back to what was originally called the ugly, terrible thing of war, but it's the Department of War. Just that name alone what I think has a narrative to it that strikes a fear into people than just the Department of Defense. Because
DEI guys who want to quit if they have to work at a war place.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I mean, do you think it makes that much of a difference? Do we need to start putting a more forceful roll up on the balls of our feet instead of the heels of our feet?
Well, it's not like they're defending anything. At this point, what is the defense that's being done by that department? Nothing. They're deterring no one. They're stopping no one. The Russians do what they want to do. The Iranians told Hamas to hit Israel. They told the Iraq and Syria militias they control to hit us. They told the Houthis to hit everybody, right? They're doing whatever they want. And it will not surprise me in the slightest if China says, you know what, those semiconductor factories across the straits there in Taiwan are looking kind of juicy. And it's not like we have anywhere near the munitions we'd need if we even had the guts to defend, an attack on Taiwan. So I don't think at this point we are in a position that the Department of Defense is a credible defense against anything. So yeah, let's have a War Department.
Yeah,
they're defending Hamas against the Israelis. I mean,
Yeah, there you go.
And they're still throwing a lot of stuff to Ukraine. Yes, people, that war's still going on too. You just don't hear about it. But yeah, that one is still, but that's no longer the golden child anymore. I'm sure Zelensky hates that, but maybe he can start getting back into a suit instead of his OD green shirt. But yeah, that one's still going on. Yeah, I mean, the Houthi rebels, we said the other day, the president was asked when he's walking out to his helicopter, stumbling out, what they were doing. And he said something like he's made a decision on what our reaction is going to be as a country. That was like 48 hours ago. We've still seen nothing. I mean, every minute shows more weakness.
Where's that picture of Soleimani's ring, next to mounds of charred flesh in Baghdad? All right. I want dead Iranian leaders. I want one of their Navy ships sunk. I want their oil facilities shut down. I don't care what it is, but do something that hurts them, because otherwise we have done nothing but tell them that what they're doing works. And they're probably, knowing the Biden administration, there is probably an unmarked plane at Andrews Air Force Base right now, and they're loading pallets of cash on the back again.
They say life imitates art. I think we're about one step away from Team America. We're going to write you a really, really nasty letter. I mean, I feel like we're almost at that, or better yet, can we get Michelle Obama to put up a hashtag? Maybe that honestly, that's probably more than what our administration has done.
Dude, I'd take Team America World Police right now. I'll tell you what, I did go over there and stumble and bumble their way and blow up everything. And it would still be better than anything our guys are going to put together.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I guess we're going to have to wait and see, but it took the president a year to go to East Palestine, Ohio. So I don't know how long it's going to take him to come up with a response plan to killing and wounding of our great service members over there in the desert.
Now, I can't make the joke that we want him to go to actual East Palestine, can I?
No,
there isn't a Palestine.
Not the Ohio one.
Secret Service, we're not talking about the actual one. That would be wrong.
Yes. Yeah, that would be good. Talking about defense. So Jimbo, you brought up defense and what we're doing. And a big part of our defense is our border, right? That kind of defines a country,
what border?
Exactly. Right.
The Canadian border, right? We got that one.
They don't even have that, right?
Trying to keep Toby out.
We had a guest on a couple of weeks ago that stayed anonymous that works for that part of the government, and we highlighted just how many are coming across the northern border, and how easy and cheaper it is for them to come across the northern border than the southern border. I mean, the cartel is set up in Montreal, Toronto, and all these Canadian cities, just channeling people across the northern border. So it's really everywhere. And we have this now at the southern border. Obviously, it's nonstop. Yet you have the president saying he wants Congress to give him money, and you have Congress, or the Republican leaders of Congress, saying, dude, you have the authority. Like, you can sign the letter. Is there an impact? I mean, is this just going to become a 2024 talking point, or is someone going to do it, or are they just going to run it all the way up till November?
I don't think they can get anything done. What they wanted, the Democrats wanted to pass something through the Senate using the Rhino Republicans that they had a virtual certainty would not make it through the House. So they could say, oh, those evil Republicans won't do this because they want to help Trump. And unfortunately, that blew up in their faces, because everybody's like, wait a minute, what you're asking for is to limit this to 5,000 people a day, 2 million. Right. I mean, at 5,000. Well, yeah, we're going to be serious then. I mean, what a joke. So that didn't actually work out for them. And now I think they're stuck. So nothing's going to be done through the election. It will be an election issue, as well it should be. And now that you've got these illegal aliens beating up cops and things like that, I think what we need to do is just lean into this. I didn't used to think the border was a great issue for Republicans. because people weren't paying attention. Now they've got so much crime, there's so much money going to this rather than other problems, that I think the normals have been affected by this, which is what it always takes to get people to pay attention.
Well, that's why it took a couple, Governor Abbott and stuff to start shipping and flying illegals all over the country to make this country. Because had he not done that, this would not be an issue, because the rest of the country would turn a blind eye and claim their sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, right? And now you have, they're all starting to shut it off. Sorry, go ahead, Wolf.
Yeah, you got another 2 states that are sending the National Guard troops down here. You've got Florida that announced, it was either today or yesterday, they're sending National Guard in, and South Dakota is also sending their guard in and willing to cart down a whole lot more wire if they need it. So I think that effectively ends nationalization of the Guard. As you remember, that was perking up the last couple of weeks or so about the Texas Guard. He's going to have to do it to a whole lot more states than just Texas if he's going to affect that. If there's 3 or 4 more states that got Guard guys down there, so that effectively nullifies that argument.
Well, let me highlight one more thing. DeSantis not only is sending a battalion of Florida National Guard, he's sending Florida State Militia, Florida Guard, which we have in New York, which are under no control of the federal government, which really is, I don't know. I've dealt with the ones in New York before. And I mean, they're guys that wanted to be in the Army for the most part. When I retired, I could have retired as an E8 and I could have went into the State Guard as a full bird colonel. Like, it's a great jump, right? No pay though. So, but so they're sending the Florida Guard. So even if they were to federalize the National Guard, the Florida State Militia belongs to the governor and the governor alone. Pretty savage move.
I need to talk to Governor Youngkin here and see what kind of commission I can get in the Virginia militia. They give me a bird colonel set up.
I think
I'll have to be working for General Sam, though.
I think you could get a 1-star. They'd make her 2-star.
She'd be my boss, but that's fine.
You'd be
she's better at strategy.
Look,
God bless Governor Abbott, though. I mean, can we just take a moment for him standing up? First of all, sending the illegal aliens on their tour of the United States.
Even Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Was that DeSantis or was that him?
That was DeSantis, right?
But I think they probably conspired on that.
Yes.
But now he's actually gone ahead and say, you know what? Stop tearing down the defenses we're putting up. If you're not going to stop this illegal alien invasion, we're going to. And we're not going to let you cut down the stuff. Now, the Supreme Court didn't say that Texas couldn't defend itself. They said that the current process has to play out before, the courts decide who's right about defending the southern border. So the CBP can cut the wire and Texas can put it back up. But what happens now is the feds, are they going to roll tanks down there? They can't do that. That's the beautiful thing. There's no way they can do that in an election year. And I saw today that the Texas Guard headquarters has the "come take it" flag with the cannon right below the state flag at their headquarters. That's God bless you guys.
Yes. Yeah. That's you have 26 governors, last I heard, that all support Governor Abbott. I mean, almost half the nation, over half the nation, right, support Governor. I mean, if that isn't, a gnat's ass hair away from a full-blown civil war, I don't know what is. You have 26 governors who said no. You've given you a chance, and I'm obviously not a constitutional lawyer. I haven't played one on TV, nor have I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. But I mean, the laws that Governor Abbott has quoted, where the constitutional laws he has quoted, stating that the federal government has responsibility. If they don't, that the state has responsibility to secure its border from invasion. I mean, seem pretty rock solid to me in the court of law. I mean,
it hasn't been adjudicated is the thing. No one's ever said before, okay, because no one ever had the audacity to open our borders and allow anyone who could hump across the Sonoran Desert to go ahead and come into the United States. So now it's going to have to go through the courts, and it's going to go to the Supremes. And this is going to be, I don't know if they're smart, they'll try to punt it past the next, past the election, because Roberts doesn't like to be involved in politics. But someone's going to have to decide if the federal government abdicates its responsibility to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and our borders. Do the states have the right to do that for their own citizens? You'd think they do. And I read Abbott's case like you did. It was compelling, but it's going to have to go to SCOTUS, and we'll see.
Well, go ahead, Wolf.
Said anybody seen CJ? Somebody said lawyer, constitutional.
Oh, yeah, he may be down there. Yes, he may be down there. I wasn't going to say that, but yeah. But no, I mean, it's someone said the other day, I was listening, they were going, the founding fathers wrote this for that reason, and the states would have joined the union if they did not, if they weren't expecting the federal government to help protect them from, that was the reason why they did it, right? Is because of that. So yes, when they derelict on their duty, then the state's got to step up and do it. At the end of the day, it's states' rights. They'll step up and do it, right? So there's things in the Constitution that says what the federal government has to do, or the states can't do. Hence, and then everything's 10th Amendment. Well, if the government's not doing it,
is there anything different in the way the Texas state is constructed? Because remember, it was a territory, if I'm not mistaken.
It's now a republic. It is a republic.
So, is there anything that gives them a special circumstance about doing this that, say, some of the other states wouldn't have? That would be an interesting argument as well.
I actually read something on that where it said they do not have any different status in relation to the other states. So it's going to be a countrywide ruling. One of the interesting things I saw, though, was Nikki Haley, of all people, went ahead and said that if in certain circumstances, Texas has a right to secede. And everybody went, holy crap. And I thought that was really interesting because there's a lot of people, smart legal types who say, no, they don't. And then I dug into it a little bit. And the only justification they say, all right, there's nothing in the Constitution that says you can secede or not. So there's nothing about that. But there's nothing that says it's a lifetime, endless pact if the circumstances change. That was the reason we formed our republic, was because in the course of human events, things became intolerable. So here's the interesting thing. Justice Scalia, one of the smartest conservatives, smartest justices probably ever to serve, said that the Civil War was the proof or decided definitively that states could not secede. But that's not a legal argument. You know what I mean? That means if you try to secede and you lose the war, then you can't. It also means if you try to secede and you win or don't lose the war, then you can. So he basically said it's not in the Constitution. It was decided by the Civil War, which
that's
is a very,
that's
Scalia though.
Yeah. But that's
he would know more than anybody else. So I don't think it's decided. I think the whole thing is very interesting because right now federalism is our friend and states' rights is our friend because the federal government is the deep state. So it's kind of fun to watch.
Definitely fun is an F word too. Yes, it is for sure. So you mentioned a second ago, Jim, about what we've seen with these, and this is ties to the border, right? These illegal aliens coming in, and just horrific things we've seen in the last couple of days of them just, attacking these two NYPD cops, people that just 20 something years ago, we were going out of our way to high five and shake hands with after 9/11. And now they sit there and watch them just attack these two cops, kicking them in the head, which, by the way, they weren't just trying to put the cops, take them out of commission so they could escape. They stay there intentionally trying to severely injure them or kill them when you kick someone in the head. And we watched it all happen. Luckily, they didn't get any cops' guns or anything like that. And then to add insult to injury, we watch these idiots get released from on the bail reform and just flip off the freaking cameras and flip off America. These are people that we are feeding, that our tax dollars are feeding, our housing, providing clothes, cell phones, and everything else for. And they just attacked two of our own brothers in blue and then get released right there on the spot. I would think the NYPD's morale couldn't be any lower, but I bet it's lower now than it's ever been before.
The only good thing out of this whole debacle, because everything you just said is true and it is a total disgrace, but 4 out of those 5 clowns got on a bus and are going to California. They're going back to Cali. I mean, that's perfect for me because what we need is the Dems to start eating their own. Okay, you're a sanctuary city. We're a sanctuary city. Yeah, but you're a sanctuary state. Oh, so that Trump's a sanctuary city. So we're going to send him from New York City out to California. I mean, I'm not real happy about the waste of gas and the horrible damage to our planet, but I'm pretty happy about those clowns getting shipped out to California.
Maybe they hope they put them in the back of the bus by the bathroom where no one wants to sit.
On a cross-country Greyhound.
Cross-country Greyhound, yeah.
Oh, that's a death trap.
Yeah, so interesting, right? To Cali today, Governor Newsom was on a show talking about how he witnessed someone shoplifting at a Target, walking out with $300 something worth of stuff, and the Target workers looked at him and blamed him. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm not responsible for that. He literally looked at them and he bragged about that today, that he's not responsible for people shoplifting. As we all know, it's like $940 or less in California. They can't chase him or whatever. He witnessed it happen right in front of him, and the store workers, approached him about it.
He's right. He's not responsible for them shoplifting. He's responsible for the ability to not be able to detract them, to stop them, and to try them. That's what he's responsible for. So what is the reason we would do anything to prevent it? We can't do anything about it because it's not going to get prosecuted. That's where his responsibility is at.
They need to change the law, and Democrats run the cities where this happens, so they won't. But if they wanted to stop it, you change the law that if there are more than 2 people engaged in an organized theft ring, then it becomes a conspiracy. And it's not shoplifting, it's not any of this stuff. Yeah, you can hit them because there is somebody behind it. They're selling the stuff on eBay or Amazon or on the streets. There is an organization behind it. But if you catch even the low fish, and you can charge them with something that sends them to prison for 5 years as opposed to a fine, then you may get these people to go, well, maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe a free Louis Vuitton bag is not worth 5 years of being somebody's girlfriend.
Well, everything in life, I've told my soldiers this, I tell my employees this and everything, and my own kids, it's all about carrots and sticks, right? So if you have no sticks, if you have no laws and rules, you have anarchy, right? A place with no laws or rules or whatever. Look at the chop zones and all that crap they had during the George Floyd riots, right? You could do whatever you wanted there in Seattle and Minnesota and all that stuff. And there's no deterrent not to do something, right? We all grew up where we knew not to backmouth our parents and do stuff like that or say something because we knew we were going to catch it. And the deterrent was not getting your ass beat or being grounded to God knows when or anything else, right? There's no deterrent now. That they know they're going to go in and walk right back out of jail in the state of New York or California.
The Democrats are trying to build is one thing only, using the J6 trials as an example, and what Oregon did today, saying that those 5 Republicans that had that walkout last year cannot run for re-election. They're making it trying to make it a deterrent. You can't oppose us. You oppose us, you're going to get in trouble. We're going to make it very, very painful for you. That's the only deterrence they want.
Well, we're seeing the same thing with them trying to take Trump off the ballot in all these places. They're not trying to promote freedom or liberty or any of the foundations of this country because they're trying to take away the people's choice to even make a choice.
It's about aggregating power. That's all the left is about. They don't care. They will mouth the words of democracy and liberty and respect for the Constitution. Can you imagine what would have happened if Hillary had won and instead of Trump's 3 justices, we had gotten 3 more like Sotomayor and Kagan and that idiot who can't define a woman, right? 3 more of them, and they would be shredding the Constitution and inventing, first of all, hate speech. That would be their first move, I guarantee. They would say hate speech is not covered under the First Amendment. Boom. Brandenburg versus Ohio is gone. And then they'd go from that to speech codes and thought police and everything else. And who the Second Amendment history, they may even do that first, but I think they'd go with speech codes because then you can't complain and they can arrest you when you start complaining that they're about to take all your guns. So I think we have gone past the point where the Democrats are even pretending to care about democracy or liberty or individual rights. They don't care about it at all. And the people who they rule in those cities have figured out that means it's lawless at their level, right? The laws against them don't matter. The only laws that will ever be applied will be abuse of power, use of the state security apparatus against us.
Yeah, opposing ideals, opposing thought, and opposing speech. That's what they're going to be coming down on.
There's a lot of scary things when you mentioned if Hillary got elected, so much we would not know, so much we would not see that would got buried. And as bad as this country is and how things are right now, it would be 1,000 times worse had she gotten in there, and everything that she did and the Bidens did would be so squashed under that no one would never see a light of day.
Trump saved the republic. Whatever else he's done, he's not my favorite person in the world. I will back him because he's going to be the nominee and I hope he wins. But he saved the republic from Hillary turning us into a socialist crap hole.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm with you. I was looking for him to be the kingmaker, not try to be the king again. And I was looking for him to pull the strings, but he decided to run for it. And, I don't know if it was talking on here, number of my circles I was talking in, I was like, as much as I wanted to see maybe a couple other different people be there, to see him get up there, boy, that's a scorched earth policy like we've never seen. Because it's one thing to drain a swamp, it's another one to fill it full of napalm and light it on fire. And
hit the food gas.
Food gas. That's right. That's where I think it's going to go, because he is going to have doesn't give a shit, and it's now he knows what he's dealing with. Now he knows all the different parties that are coming against him, and they thought mean tweets were bad before. It's going to be never ending.
I think the one thing you can count on if Trump gets elected is he will retribution.
Oh, you unplugged yourself again. You lean forward, man. You yank that mic out. What you got, Wolf?
Hey, I was working on a project for this coming up, should the administrations change, and what we would like to see change and address right away, day one. And I know one of our good friends that has been on your show a couple of times, that's one of the projects that he is working on for the president now, is those exact things. What should we address? What should some of those EOs look like that he signs the first 20 minutes that he's in office? How is that structure going to look like? It's not retribution so much as it is correction, readjustment, and bringing back the rule of law. Those are the things that they're tackling right now, is to bring back, getting rid of, number one, DEI and CRT and all that stuff. That's top of the list across the agencies, and bringing back some real American justice and structure. That's the correct answer.
That is the proper thing to say, and that is going to happen too. I want some retribution too, though. All right, we can have both.
Well, he said it's day one he was going to be a dictator, but just for day one, and it's all EOs, right? It's all executive orders. Which, in all reality, I would like to see them really scale that back and get back, because all these presidents keep doing is piling on. Right when Trump came in, he signed a whole bunch of executive orders reversing stuff and putting things in place, or getting rid of stuff that Obama had done. I mean, the day that Biden came in, he did the same thing, and
Biden was worse.
He's worse, but it's all skating around. Like, I think it's really slicing close to what the responsibilities of Congress are and what the intent of those were. I mean, they just keep, I can do it by executive order, I can do it by the power of the pen, blah, blah, blah. It's all these loopholes and stuff they're going through. I would like to see Congress put some kind of laws in place to really scale that back, maybe the scope of what they could be used for. Because right now it's wide open, right? They can just about, unless something says in the Constitution specifically, right? And even then they've kind of skirted that, unless it says that, the presidents are pretty much willy-nilly to do an executive order about anything. I mean, it's kind of dangerous and crazy.
Now, and again, that's the correct answer. That's the right thing to do. That's what should happen. That's not what we should do this time, because we don't have a level playing field yet. So I think because the Democrats chose these rules, and we're fighting now a counterattack against their, infiltration and taking over all of the organs of government and using them for their own purposes as opposed to properly, we have to break that first. And that means we have to use their rules and the game they decided to play.
You got to play dirty.
Hell yeah.
You have to.
Well, there's one thing coming up that the Supreme Court has a case in front of it right now that is going to address the power of each one of those agencies in setting that. There are two pieces of case law that's pending that should be adjudicated by the end of the year that address those very things, saying that the power of these agencies has grown too much. They're setting their own laws rather than adjudicating and putting forth what the laws that Congress has passed. They're trying to set their own agendas, and that's way beyond what they're supposed to do. And they've got two cases addressing those things.
Which will stop a ton of the idiotic regulations and the overreach of things, in all of these government agencies. So I think that's one step. I think, let's start dirty day one. Dictator Trump, the retribution, the week of retribution. I want a week. I don't want one day. I want a week of retribution before we do anything else.
Trying to sign up.
Exactly. Well, come on. I said we could get 250 orders. Biden had 75 or something. We need 250 to 500, and then make them claw those back. Make the Dems spend their resources trying to stop these things rather than us saying, oh, we're going to fight the right way from the moral high ground to change these things the right way. No, screw them. Do to them what they've done to the Constitution and let them try to fight back. then get to what Wolf was saying. And when the Supreme Court rules, and I think they're going to rule the way he said, they're going to say, no, the Congress cannot relinquish its authority to executive agencies. That's a wrong way to do it. And that's what they've been doing. And then all of those regulations and ability to write new laws, which is what they do, goes right out the window.
Isn't it ironic that Congress is fine with relinquishing that responsibility and that authority over, but yet now they're when it comes to engaging our military forces, now they're trying to lock everything down and they want to say in a vote and all that, which, obviously there should be, right, to declaration of war, all that stuff was put in there, but now nothing can happen. Like they're saying they don't even want us like attacking back the Houthi rebels, like unless they've declared state of war, but yet they're willing to get everything over to the CDC, to the State Department, to, hell, even transportation, right? They like Buttigieg do whatever, to make any decision he wants or not try to enforce things,
or the ATF.
Or the ATF. So,
nice segue.
Nice segue. So, Wolf, why don't you go into a little bit what's going on with the ATF today? What came out is from
story from a whistleblower that came out today was that the ATF is drafting some rulemaking, again, a little bit of overreach, that would ban private sales between individuals, all private sales between individuals that have not gone through the standard filling out the forms, doing the background checks, all that stuff, unless those individuals go into, I would imagine, a gun store or somebody else that's got, the proper authority to okay that those two individuals can transact the training of a firearm. Again, overreach.
It's the federal government only regulates guns through the part of the Constitution that says they have to regulate commerce. That only because of interstate sales and transportation does the federal government even have a say, or do they inject themselves into the gun sales? If a state, and some have done it, Texas is one, I think Montana's the other, where they manufactured, made, and sold guns to citizens of their state, and they had to sign something saying they wouldn't take it out of the state because the federal government, there's nothing in the Constitution that says they are to regulate or do anything. How can they regulate, Jimbo, what two private parties? I mean, if you want to sell me your 5 Barrett 50 cals, you should be able to sell them to me for $1 each.
I only have 4 Barrett 50.
Here's the fun part. Accident.
Yeah, here's the fun part. All right. I mentioned Scalia earlier because he was brilliant. He did the greatest thing in writing the Heller decision, which codified an individual right, not a militia-based right, to own weapons suitable for war. Okay, and that was huge. That had never been properly adjudicated, and it had been tap danced around. So once it became codified as an individual right, then the next step, which was a year or two ago, Justice Thomas, another brilliant conservative scholar of the Constitution, his opinion in the New York gun case codified the right to keep and bear arms, because New York came up with this cunning plan. Oh yeah, you can own a gun. You just can't take it anywhere in public because we're going to put these rings around all these places. So essentially there's one spot in upstate New York you could stand next to Troy's deer stand, with your guns. Other than that, you're not allowed to have guns anywhere. Well, Justice Thomas went, no, that's not what they meant. That's not what all this historical stuff says, and said you have a right to keep and bear. Now, they need a next step. And I think the ATF may have just done the dumbest thing they could have done and teed them up. I hope they do this, because then we'll have a case, in some of these quality gun organizations. I like the Gun Owners of America, the guys with the FUNO. They are savages. I want a case to come up now that deals with this once and for all and says, no, the whole idea of the government telling you what you can and can't do is garbage. Whether we get the National Firearms Act repealed, I think is a long shot. Okay, I think they're always going to keep their hand in, well, you can't have, a fully automatic weapon anymore. But as long as we find a way to get the next of that trifecta of rulings that says the government can't tell you who you can sell your guns to, they have no interest in that whatsoever, then I think we will have what we really need, which is a fully functional Second Amendment. Constitutional carry actually has to be worked into there as well. Because I live in Virginia. I live in Arlington, Virginia, which is now turning into a crap hole because there's metro lines allowing the criminals from DC to come here and attack and carjack and armed rob people. But if I want to go into DC, I can't carry in DC where I really need a gun because they're scum. So we need constitutional carry across the country.
Hey, you're talking to someone from New York, the only state that gives you a state permit but doesn't let you carry everywhere in a state. And this was before what they did a couple years ago. When I got my permit over 10 years ago, I can carry everywhere in the state but the 5 boroughs, the place I should be
right. Where the criminals are with their guns.
And if people live in the city can only get a permit just for the city and can't carry anywhere else. It's a state permit. It makes zero sense. But now, because of what they did, the law they tried to pass and the Supreme Court struck down, they put in all these safe areas. But guess what? I can now carry in a city. I just have to slip and dip around all the no carry zones that are all over the city because they did. But I can carry them now. But I'd never heard of a state issuing a permit. That's like issuing you a driver's license so you can drive anywhere but this one town. Like, that makes no sense. So yeah, constitutional carry is where it's at. Right, over 26 states, so that over half the country is now constitutional carry. Between that and national reciprocity, which unfortunately never came out of the Senate when when Trump went in office, he said that he would sign it if they came to him, and the Senate never put it forward. It passed the House, but the Senate could never get their balls a tug and make it happen. It would have made a national reciprocity just like it does with the driver's license. If you get licensed in one state, you can drive anywhere else. You don't get stopped. Hell, you can come from another country and drive in our country.
I don't remember reading in the Constitution anywhere the right of the people to drive anywhere the hell they want shall not be infringed. But it does say my right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And it's being infringed in so many stupid ways, including that, like you just said, I don't want to have to put my guns in a safe because now I'm going to a Democrat-run crap hole full of criminals with guns, but it's a gun-free zone. Screw you guys, man.
Right. Well, look at, Wolf, you're very familiar with the state of Florida. Down there, Governor DeSantis was one of the last ones that turned to constitutional carry and gave the majority of the states to do that. There's a lot of guns going around Florida like there is Texas, right? There's shootings, there's crime, but
even when I went out jogging in Florida, I was carrying. I was packing 24/7 when I lived in Florida. Very close to that here in Virginia, although the chances of me driving over into DC by accident or where we live kind of precludes me from carrying here because I never know when I might have to dip into DC or Maryland where I've got stuff. But in Florida, everywhere. The only thing that Florida doesn't have is open carry. Unless you're fishing or backpacking, then you can open carry in Florida. But that's still, kind of odd down there for them. But they're very, very open.
Which I'm fine with. I'm not a big fan of open carry. That's just me personally. But, you can do what you want to do, whatever carry. But I'm not one to flash my stuff all over the place. It's the reason why I wear pants. So, anyway.
Hiding your gun, bud.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, but so the ATF is trying to do this. It's a proposed 1,500 page thing that they're pitching. Someone has either leaked it on purpose. It was done for a reason. They whistleblowed, whatever. But obviously, it's gotten out into the open now. So we'll see what happens. And I'm sure there's going to be an uproar from the right over this coming out and continuing to make it an issue. But let me ask you, especially you, Jimbo. You're a man of music. You see all the stuff behind you. You're very much in the music industry. I'm wondering if you're really concerned about Taylor Swift being part of the conspiracy to help get Biden elected.
For God's sakes, can we not be serious for a moment? This is the problem with the right, is whenever we start to get our stuff together, someone's like, I have a crazy ass idea that I'm going to publicize and make us look like idiots. I'm sorry. Look, I know Jack Posobiec, and I like him. He's a good dude. He likes to do this. It's a game with him. So whether he actually believes it or not, who knows? But they're playing this game that it's and there's actual proof. There is a thing where they found that DOD was trying to popularize using Taylor Swift to push U.S. policies around the world. We've done it before, but it's not an actual thing. To the extent that any celebrity, when they run their mouths and say I like Biden, they did it with Clinton, they did it with Barry O. It's nothing new. I want to say one thing about Taylor Swift though. I'm not a real big fan of her music overall. It's generic bubblegum pop. But she lost her music catalog when it got sold and this investment firm bought it. It's whoever's behind it. But she lost like her first 6 albums, and they had control of them. And she went back to the studio and re-recorded them. And that is just such a baller move. It's like, oh, they're my songs. I know the words. I'm pretty sure I could do this. Went back in the studio, re-recorded and put Taylor's version in parentheses and changed the album cover and re-released them. I'm like, good on you, girl. That is just awesome.
She knows how to protect her brand and run a business. I give her that.
She's a billionaire, for God's sakes.
But Wolf, do you think the NFL really likes her? That she seems to have brought a lot to the NFL. A lot of new fans, especially Kansas City.
But they're all chicks. I mean, who needs them? It's all chicks.
Hold on. Let me get out of the blast zone of that.
Yeah,
you're only a block away from me, Johnny. Don't blow things up.
I'm waiting for Mama to come busting through that door. And
really choking him.
She put the Ukrainian death hold on him. But,
chicks buy advertising products too, John.
Yes.
I haven't seen too many mascara ads in between Bud Light and Michelob Ultra. I haven't seen too many mascara.
Although Bud Light and a mascara ad.
I was going to say, you may have saw it on a Bud Light.
Right. That is a mascara ad.
That may be where you did see it. But I was just, the Taylor Swift controversy. I don't know. Hopefully that is a little far reaching. But, I've seen stuff where they're like, they're going to have Biden come on her Eras tour. He's going to come up on stage to try to win voters and all this kind of stuff and everything like that. I'm like, yeah, those are the people that just roll over in the morning and take another hit off the bong and like, nah, I'm not going to vote. I'm not worried.
Is anybody who is likely to be swayed by Taylor Swift endorsing Biden ever going to vote for Trump? Were they ever in a million years?
Yeah,
now what she may do, she may drive some turnout from people who weren't going to vote otherwise. And from the Biden side of things, from the Biden's tools, Biden doesn't exist. There is no Biden anymore. There's just that weekend at Bernie's carcass that they wander around. But
the strings are really invisible. You can't see the strings at all.
They're getting more visible. But they're smart enough to know that's a great play. I mean, we don't even run elections. We run popularity contests. So at this point, having one of the most popular celebrities in the entire world back your person is just smart politics. Trump's got Kid Rock now. I like Kid Rock. He ain't Taylor Swift.
No. And he can bring
Snoop Dogg. That's a trade. That's a fair trade to me.
And he's got 50 Cent. Snoop Dogg and 50 Cent.
50 Cent.
50 Cent and or not 50 Cent, but Ice Cube. Ice Cube's a big Trump fan, apparently. He's coming out. And they can bring Elvis back in a hologram and have Elvis stump for Trump. Right? He ain't nothing but a hound dog. They're bringing him back. They're bringing back Elvis concerts in a hologram. So
wow.
I mean, you can bring anything back. But Kiss no longer performs. Kiss's last concert several months ago, at their very last concert, they walked off stage and the last 2 songs were done by holograms. Where they were just
ABBA does that too. There's a whole awesome show that ABBA does.
Where they're not breaking sweat. They're not even there.
No, and more power to them.
Yeah.
I prefer the ABBA Muppets to the
there you go.
That was good.
But hey, thank you. We've been on for about an hour tonight. We've hit a lot of topics. I want to, before we hit our hour max time here, I want to just give you guys a second. I'll start with you. Wolf, anything that we didn't cover, anything that you just want to make our listeners and viewers aware of, you just want to bring their attention to?
Two things that popped up here is Gaza recently held a vote for a ceasefire in Chicago. So how that goes out.
Chicago needs a ceasefire with itself before they start telling Gaza what to do.
And then the last thing was we need to talk about Jimbo's new EV that he picked up. So
what is
that? He's got an EV? Where'd you get a Tesla?
Vehicle. It's not an electric vehicle. It's an expeditionary vehicle. It's an EV.
I thought
I was wondering.
Did you get a Tesla? What do you get?
I got the combat wagon. It's a giant Mercedes diesel van, man.
You had that before.
I know, but we got it fully kitted out now, so it's fully off-road and
Molly
ride on it.
Inside, you got your Fit Barretts hanging on there.
Dude, there are safes and things.
It looks like John. It looks like John Wick.
He use Jim and EV. That was the only thing that was allowing me to come up. So I want to be able to see that one. Throw that out there.
It looks like the gun room in the Hotel Continental.
As well, it should.
Yes, it did.
Come on, between me and my wife, we are pro 2A. I just want to say that I want to give a shout out. I'm working with Middle East Forum right now, which is Daniel Pipe's organization. 30 years ago, he founded it. It is by far the best resource if you want to know the truth about what's happening in the Middle East. We're doing a lot. We're going to be doing some very cool things with their tech and the rest of it over the course of this year. But they have done a tremendous job fighting the lies of the Hamas terror sympathizers all over the world. And I think it's been in 2017, Daniel started the Israel Victory Project. So he's just been a little bit, he won't let me sell Daniel Pipes Was Right shirt like they do with Ron Paul Was Right. But if we did, he could make a mint off of that because he's been right on so many things. And I just want to see that war go to its proper end, which is all the Hamas terrorists stacked like cordwood. And then we'll talk about whether the people in Gaza want to have a decent chance at government by deciding they can live side by side with Israel.
There we go. Awesome. That's great. I didn't know you're involved. You're involved with a lot of stuff. I didn't know you're involved with that. So that's awesome. You got your hands in a lot of pies for sure. But well, hey, thanks, Jim. Thanks for Wolf for coming on. Appreciate you guys being here, covering a lot of topics. Thank you. We had a lot of chatter. I was getting comments on the side, and a lot of people, tuning in for tonight. Appreciate you guys giving us some of your evening, and thank you to everyone else for tuning in tonight, or if you're watching us after the fact here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We're on all three right now. Thanks to our sponsors, Red Rum Sport Fishing, where Toby's down there kicking it up. We got to get us a guys trip down there. He keeps asking. We need to get our whole group together. We got to make that happen.
A B5 reunion.
Yes, exactly. We're not going to let Chuck drive the boat. Alpha Elite Performance, my buddy Travis over there, doing a lot of great things, great stuff. Gears for Grunts, boohammer.com, and everyone else. Thanks a lot. Thank you guys for tuning in or coming on tonight, and I really appreciate you guys helping out, brothers. Look at that. Oh, look at that.
What did I do?
You did that. You do that, and it gives you reactions. So if you do a heart, it'll throw hearts. Did you know that?
I don't want that to happen.
It just did.
It was a V for victory, and they give me balloons. I want explosions.
Yeah. All right, you got to talk to Apple. Tell them they got to change.
I will catch up with Apple.
All right, yeah. All right, thank you guys so much. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and you all have a great night.
Great show. Thanks, Troy.